One of the most unique healing jobs that I've ever had the privilege of playing has been the Sage. Now, leaving the event, leaving the media tour, I felt overwhelmed by Sage. But as I've looked into working on the different skills and traits and the job gauge for this video, looking at the footage itself, I really actually started to get excited to master this job. Sage is a healer that is built around doing damage, and a large part of their output comes from that damage. Obviously you have shields, and obviously you have a little hots healing over time and other curing abilities, but a good portion of this job is focused around its damage output. Sage also has all these interesting, utilities that augment your ability. And I think that's going to become a core aspect of what it means to be a Sage. It's a little bit situational, it's focusing on damage, and it's this combination. I think it's going to give healers a new thing to master and a new thing to explore, which is really exciting. But just as a note, with my Astro video, as a controller player, I feel Sage is going to offer me a real personal challenge when it comes to laying out these skills for this job. But I'm up for the challenge, and I promise you I'm going to put the work and time into this job so that I can help deliver you a very comfortable setup for playing it on a controller. And that's just what I like to do, and hopefully that's a help for you guys. But I hope this video is a huge help in terms of breaking down the skills, the traits, giving you guys my thoughts as well. But it's with that I think it's time we dive into everything we need to know about the Sage in Final Fantasy XIV. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber for watching this video, you've unlocked the title, Not a Scholar. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free titles to rep in-game and the real world. So if you feel like this video earns your sub, let me know in the comments so I can welcome you officially to the channel, and you can unlock your new title. It is what it is. We're going and we're diving into this. We're gonna have some fun. Now, I'm going to focus this video actually on 3 key areas with a theme of how this job plays on a controller. First part of the video is going to go over the Sage's job gauge and following by their traits. Now, since there aren't that many, we're going to be pretty quick in this situation. Then from there, we're going to dive into each of the skills, and I'm going to give you the breakdown of them. Note that this is all footage that is pre-release built, so it's not undergone final adjustments, and anything can change. All content in this video and in these thumbnails and in these titles and all this wonderful stuff is subject to significant change, so please do not worry or stress out over any of the numbers that you see. Use this as a fun way of gauging what's happening, and I'm looking forward to your own theory crafting and more, obviously in the comments or wherever you post on the interwebs. Yoshi P also wanted to pass along a thank you to all those working in the medical field for their hard work fighting the COVID pandemic. And let me echo those statements. Thank you so much for all that you do. He feels his job is to try to make the best game that people can enjoy. So hopefully you can enjoy Final Fantasy XIV and, have some form of escape as all of this continues to go on and on for a while now. So not to be too negative or depressing, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yoshi P wanted to pass that and make that statement to you guys as well. So thank you. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into our job gauge and traits. Just a note of warning to anybody who's never seen my content or knows, about my certain disability. I have massive dyslexia, and Final Fantasy XIV challenges the way that I perceive letters and how they could be grouped possibly together. Now, you might see these words very naturally, and so honestly, if it annoys you, please go check out any of the other awesome content creators who went to the media tour. They probably got you covered in stating these things much better than I have. But just note, I'm not trying to mispronounce things on purpose, and with Sage being a new job, also haven't even audibly heard these things yet, so there's a risk that I end up training myself into saying things incorrectly. That all being said, that's the disclaimer. I just wanted to get ahead of the comments that I'm going to inadvertently see, and that is what it is. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here. Adderskull gauge. I have no idea if that's right, but we're going to roll with it. The gauge indicates accumulated stacks of Adderskull, which are restored automatically over time. Adderskull can be consumed and execute actions such as Dureloche and Karyokol, and those are acquired at level 50. So you actually have 2 style gems here, and you have a bar that kind of fills up. Thinking kind of in the white mage mindset, you have your naturally filling up bar. That's going to give you various options to use abilities. And then you have another form, in this case, 3 different gems, different things that are going on in this case. So just note, we'll talk about how you get your Adder Sting here in a little bit, but you can see here that you got kind of Adderskull kind of focusing on healing, Adder Sting focusing on doing damage like Toxicon and Toxicon 2, which Toxicon upgrades. So just note that from a traits perspective, you'll see that happening. Also, and furthermore, you have Eucharista. We'll stick with that. It's basically when it's active, you're going to enhance the effects of Dosis, Diagnosis, and Prognosis. Essentially, you have 1 attack spell, Dosis. that's going to be modified to be a dot, and we'll go over the details. Diagnosis and prognosis, same things, kind of like a cure and an AoE cure. Well, using your Krista turns that into a cure and shield. So it modifies your abilities, and it's like honestly really fascinating from a job component perspective. Now let's go ahead and dive into our traits, and then we'll go into the skills. All right, Maimon Men 2. This should be not news for anybody who's been playing this game for a long time. Somolanic Oath increases the potency of Dosis, Figligma, and Euchristian Dosis accordingly. And we'll see all these, and especially when we get, obviously these skills are captured at level 90, you'll see their highest form of potency, and note that that scales out through these traits here at level 54. Then you have Addersting unlocking at level 66. This is going to grant 1 stack of Addersting whenever the barrier granted by Euchristian Diagnosis is completely absorbed, meaning it breaks. They use that, and you're going to get an Addersting stack, and you can get a maximum of 3 stacks of Addersting. That whole system unlocks at level 66. Offensive Magic Mastery. This is where Dosis is upgraded automatically, Phlegma is upgraded automatically, and then obviously Euchristian Dosis is upgraded automatically. So your spells are leveled up to level 2 across the board. You also increase the potency of Toxicon to 320. And then finally at level 88, you unlock Enhanced Zoe. This is going to take Zoe and reduce its cooldown, and we'll go into the skill itself, but essentially it's a healing boost. Dosis. This deals unexpected damage with a potency of 240, and it restores targets under the effect of Cardian granted by you. So if there's multiple sages, you're only going to benefit the Cardian that you've applied as well, with that cure potency of 170. Diagnosis is like your cure spell. This is going to be a cure potency of 450, obviously at level 90, but this is learned at level 2. Then you have Cardia, which is learned at level 4, kind of a key mechanic getting started. Basically, whoever you apply this on is going to heal whenever you do certain magic attacks. Then we get into Prognosis. This is your AoE heal with a cure potency of 300. And look at that cost though, at 1,000 with the 10,000 MP. You can see here that the Sage could probably be outspending a lot of their MP, and there's going to be an MP management system coming into place here in a second. So just be very well aware, especially with doing damage to heal. It's going to be an interesting kind of game to play. All right, then we have Allegro. Makes me think Allegra. This is going to be your raise essentially. So it's pretty straightforward. It's got a long cast time, and that makes sense. Then you have Physis. It gradually restores your own HP and the HP of all nearby party members. Cure potency is 100, and it's going to last 21 seconds with a recast time of 60 seconds with an instacast. I love instacast spells. It's fantastic. It allows you to weave that in between doing damage. Then you have Phlegma. Deals unexpected damage to the target and all enemies nearby with a potency of 360 for the first enemy and a 30% fall off for all remaining enemies. This also restores HP to targets under the effect of Cardian granted by you with a cure potency of 170, and it's got a maximum of 2 charges. So this is a charged instant with a 45-second charge time to be able to put out some AoE damage. Here's where we get Euchrista, level 30. This is kind of the key job aspect of it. It's going to augment certain offensive and healing magic actions. So what you see here is Dosis is upgraded to Euchristian Dosis, Diagnosis is Euchristian Diagnosis, and Prognosis is Euchristian Prognosis. You're like, what is that, Brian? All right, so what does that actually mean? So Euchristian Diagnosis restores your target's HP with a potency of 300. It's also going to put a barrier around them, which nullifies damage equaling 180% of the amount of HP restored. When critical HP is restored, it also grants the differential diagnosis, nullifying damage equaling 180% of the amount of that HP restored. So it sounds like it's basically just double stacking, similar to what the Scholar does. This effect cannot be stacked with Euchristian Prognosis or the Scholar's Galvanize. So you're going to have to be very kind of key on that what is going to be what. So coordinate with your Scholar. Hashtag not a Scholar. Euchristian Dosis, going on the offensive here. It takes your Dosis spell and turns it into your dot spell. So you do not have a single target attack and a dot. You have a dot and a single target attack that is the same ability that gets augmented by Euchristian. So you can see here it starts with a 30 potency, and then level 3 is going to be a 70 potency. Each of these is going to restore HP under the target affected by Cardian as well. So being able to put your dot on the target, starting at, stays at 30 seconds the entire time, no matter what level you're on. So that's what the effect of Euchristian does to your abilities and how that augments them. Then you have Solaritia or Soltara, we'll go with it. Doubles the cure potency of Cardian effects granted by you for 10 seconds. So every 90 seconds, you can double the effect of the cure potency of Cardian. So if you need to, you're pumping out damage and you want to keep that tank up, that's a really good thing to kind of like think about during those big pulls. Icarus is your gap closer. Rush to a targeted enemy or a position member's location, unable to cast if bound. That's good to know. Dulolo Kalache. It's going to restore the target's HP with a 600 potency cure. It also is going to restore 5% of your maximum NP. This is where you start getting into that Adder Skull cost, and that is going to start restoring your MP along with it. So you want to be using these instant off the global cooldowns that use those Adder Skulls, but remember you only get 3 every, you get 1 every 20 seconds, but still that's an additional MP that's coming back to you. You have Dracristia, deals unexpected damage with a potency of 160 all nearby enemies, restores HP to the target under the effect of Guardian granted by you with obviously a 170 cure potency. This is all enhanced by the traits, so traditionally this is going to be a little bit lower. Then you have Caracol, reduces the damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10% for 15 seconds. This cannot be stacked with Churolocho. It also has an additional effect of regen with 100 cure potency for 15 seconds and restores 5% of your maximum MP. It's going to cost 1 Adder Skull gem in this regards. Then you have Ilochali, restores own HP and the HP of all nearby party members with a cure potency of 400. Also restores 5% of maximum MP. Adder Skull cost is 1 gem. Then you have Zoe, doubles the amount cured by your next healing spell. So you take any healing spell and it's going to double it. It sounds like, in a way, kind of like Scholar's guaranteed crit, but this is going to be every 90 seconds. You're going to get a really big boost to the next healing spell you cast. And just to remember that 90 seconds is reduced by a trait later in the game. So as you're leveling up Sage, you might not see that recast timer. It might be like that 120 seconds, but we'll have to wait and see. Pepsis is going to restore your own HP and the HP of nearby party members by removing Euchristian Diagnosis or Prognosis effects granted by you. So they have to have Euchristian Diagnosis and Prognosis. Basically, this takes their shield that you put on them and it turns it into a cure. So a 450 potency cure or a 350 potency cure. So note that that is just an augmented of your ability. Targets not under the effect will not be healed in this case. Then you got Physis 2, gradually restores your own HP and HP of all nearby party members with a cure potency of 200. It also increases HP recovering by healing magic by 10% for 15 seconds as well. Now, this says it gradually restores their HP, thinking like a healing over time. That's a pretty powerful healing over time spell, right? At the same time, it's not like ultimate, so that makes sense. What it sounds like is that you can heal them over time for 15 seconds, and during that window, you actually increase the healing of them out. So if you can continue to heal, this would sound like a good starter spell because it's going to boost the impact of your other healing spells immediately right after. Tolerachuli. Oh man, I hope you guys are laughing. Restores target's HP. Cure potency is 600. Reduces target's damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. So instead of healing over time, a little bit bigger heal. Cannot be stacked with Carolocochutur. And yeah, it restores 5% of your maximum HP with an Adder Skull cost of 1. Toxicon, this is where we're getting to Adder Sting, deals unexpected damage to the target and all enemies nearby it with a potency of 320 for the first enemy and a 50% fall off for all remaining enemies. Restores your HP of targets under the effective card and granted by you, and it's going to cost 1 Adder Sting gem. Then you have Hymia, creates a barrier around self or target party members that absorbs damage equivalent to a heal of 150 potency. So just under that, like healing over time. So it's not the biggest shield, but it's a pretty decent one. It grants 5 stacks of Hamiltonation, and this is going to last for 30 seconds. When the barrier is completely absorbed, a stack of Hamiltonation is consumed and a new barrier is applied. When the effect of the duration expires, a healing effect is then applied. So you're going to get 150 cure per remaining stack of Hamiltonation, and it cannot be stacked with Phanema, which we'll cover here in a second, which is kind of the AoE version. But just think basically you're putting 5 shields on a person, and they are going to break down the shields. Any shield that remains once the effect wears off is going to act as a multiplier of that 150 for a big cure, or maybe a little cure if they only have 1 left. Doses 2 deals unexpected damage with a potency of 320. It also restores HP to the target under Guardian, which makes sense. So if you see this, you're doing damage, people getting healed by Guardian. It happens with a lot of these spells. Phlegma 2 is the upgraded version of Phlegma, obviously, dealing more potency damage and also 50% less for falling off. Now you have still 2 charges of this spell, and this happens actually at level 72. So that is your big AoE with 2 charges that you see here, you actually have a couple of AoEs that essentially there is almost an AoE rotation that is building up here for the Sage, which we'll go into more detail as we wait to see how things change when the game is released. Rhismata has got an instacast recast of 90 seconds, grants 1 stack of Adder Skull. So this is going to give you every minute the ability to give yourself just an extra gem. So if you filled up on 4, you burn them all, you can stack one immediately and use it, be ready to go. Holos is going to restore your own HP and the HP of all nearby party members with a cure potency of 300. Simple AoE heal, nothing to write home about there. Phanoma erects a magic barrier on self and all party members near you that absorbs the damage equivalent of a heal of 150 potency. So this is the AoE version. It's going to grant you 5 stacks of Elimination. Cannot be stacked with Hamia, by the way. So AoE or single target, you got some choices. When the barrier is completely absorbed, a stack of it is consumed, and any stacks that remain still get that 150 potency cure. Recast here is 120 seconds, and the recast on Hamia is also 120 seconds. So you can, in a case, like you could put this out on AoE. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out in the long run. Man, I just think of different situations with certain bosses we currently have in the game in terms of like both preventing and also kind of healing through damage phases that are just, raid wide, right? But then you still have also a single target. So if a tank buster's following it up, you actually are in a really good position to kind of help like both mitigate and heal. Doses 3 deals unexpected damage with a potency of 330. Also restores HP to the target of the Cardian. That's learned at level 82. Phlegma 3, it's going to deal unexpected damage with the target of all nearby enemies with a potency of 510 for the first with a 50% fall off remaining. It's going to heal Cardian targets. It's going to have a cure potency of 170. It's got 2 charges. So it's still that, and it's got a 45-second charge time. Disrelex Krista 2 deals unexpected damage with potency 170 to all enemies nearby. No damage fall off, and it restores HP to the target under Cardian affected by you. So I can see kind of like this is both instant. This is both instant. This is going to be pretty fast. That's got a charge. So you're going to have a lot of different AoE potential, a lot of damage potential here, in my opinion. Toxicon 2, it's the upgraded version of Toxicon. Potency of 330 for the first enemy. It's going to cast you an Adder Sting spell, and then it's going to have that 50% fall off, and it's going to restore HP to the targets as well. Crisis here is reducing HP recovery via healing actions for party or member or yourself by 20%. So it's kind of a focused, like I guess healing buff. So instead of just saying I'm going to output more healing, it's just this target's going to have more healing applied to them specifically. Fumina is going to deal unexpected damage with all enemies in a straight line before you with a potency of 330 for the first enemy and 50% less for all remaining enemies. Restores your own HP and the HP of all party members nearby, and it reduces damage taken by 10%. It's got a cure potency of 400. It's going to last 20 seconds. It's also going to heal your Cardian target, and this does not share a recast timer with any other actions. It's got a 120-second recast time. So Fumina, you have a lot of instant. You have a lot of like charge. You have a lot of damage spells. Like honestly, I feel like I'm more or less talking about a DPS, and then it happens to be a healer. Now, obviously, we still have healing targets. We still have healing abilities, but I really appreciate the ebb and flow that they have presented here. And so it's going to be the challenge. Like I said, how is this job going to fit perfectly on the controller? I wish I had hours and hours and hours to spend in the media tour just on this job alone to get it to feel right. But honestly, I'm very excited for just what I saw, what I was able to play as the Sage, but as I was also trying to consume more of the jobs themselves. Guys, I hope this was a help. I hope this was informative. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you feel like it earned it, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, and this is the video that gets you to hit that subscribe button, let me know so I can officially welcome you to the channel. And that is Sage, and that's the healers. You can go check out all this content over on Work to Game as well. The link should all be in the description. We've got lots of content for you today, tomorrow, in the coming weeks. So I hope you're as excited to share Endwalker with us as we build up to the release here in November. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any comments yourselves. I'm very much excited to hear what you think about the Sage. But for Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being awesome. Love you face, and I'll see you next time.